As you all know, my business is Face2Face HR, and I am an outsourced HR consultant. And we offer clients support and training, as well as all the other legal requirements to really tackle topics in the workplace. And so I thought this week I would just really tackle the resolving conflict with colleagues and maybe clients as well, or customers. And as it's Mental Health Awareness Week, I thought it'd be really good. It sort of really resonates a little bit. I just wanted to share with you some tips on how to resolve conflict with clients and colleagues, and just really go through that a little bit. So what we're going to cover really is why it is important to manage conflict, and what are the challenges are there in the workplace. And it's just, don't just think of the workplace, also put it in place of where actually you are and what you're doing, and maybe it's a challenge with a client, a customer, a supplier, whichever. So we're going to look at some different styles. We're going to look at the preparing for conflict management, and also conflict management techniques and best practices. So the question is, why is it important to manage conflict effectively? Well, usually it's because viewpoints, ideas, or opinions collide, and that's what normally happens. So when we're disagreeing about something, that's a collision of those viewpoints have actually come together. And whether it's employees, so I'll call everyone consumers. Consumers are who are unhappy, can communicate their feelings in a variety of ways. So therefore, you should be able to employ tactics really to use and train and to calm those potentially upset, whether it's customers, clients, or employees. So calming that situation down, really having that positive sort of workplace environment, and really, ensuring that actually when things do rear its ugly head, you can actually deal with it more effectively, because it's going to happen no matter what. So some of the challenges in the workplace could be angry or rude employees, and it's really how to handle these people. Customer complaints could be financial disputes, disagreements, intense negotiations. It could be where there's a lot going on, and it's actually there's a conflict between your opinion and somebody else's opinion, and how you want to deliver that, and those kind of things really happen. And it's just really staying calm, listening to what's happening, and provide clear feedback. Always document any incidents, be consistent, and enforce whatever rules that you already have in place, and check in on each other's employees. So check in on each other, just check in, how you're feeling now, because actually what could have happened one week and it's actually dissipated, but it could still be really having an effect on that person. And again, that could really affect someone's mental health and well-being, if they're really having that effect on them, because although you might think, oh, it's all been resolved, actually, have you checked in on that person just to see where we are with it? So there are different styles of conflict management, and it's just really the way we handle when we're trying to solve a problem. So when we have it's just like difficult conversations really. So I get involved in a huge amount of difficult conversations, and whether it's conflict management with clients where they'll say to me, okay, we've got this issue and we don't know how to really resolve it. Well, we don't know how to really start those conversations with that employee. So always have the opportunity to have an honest conversation, really make space for those difficult conversations, and really handle it with both honesty and kindness. Because actually what you're doing is you're criticizing the behavior, not the person. It's the behavior, it's that pattern, and it's really how all that relationship You know, we've all have to work with people, you know, unless you're very, very lucky, you don't work with anybody, you just work with yourself, so you've got your own person to sort out. But, you know, more and more, you know, we all need to be dealing with, whether it's clients, suppliers, people, but it's family as well, because this happens in our personal life too. So really just have a think about, you know, the different styles. And so I'm just going to take you through some of the different styles of conflict management. And there's 4 or 5 different styles. There is competing style. So this is really this style is very assertive. You know, you're competing, you're wanting to win that argument or win that, you know, that whatever it is that's going on. And this but be careful about this person. If you've got a competing style person that you're actually dealing with, is be careful and cautious and thoughtful, because if this is the style that they are choosing to engage with, then it's only going to be fit for very few scenarios. And it can really sort of manifest into all kinds of, you know, come from a place where actually you don't understand. And it's very, you know, it could be built up over a long time. But that competing style, I'm going to win at no cost. I don't care about what you're thinking, if it's going to affect anybody else, I'm going to compete. Collaborating style. Now, this is the style that I like the best, because we want to collaborate with people. We want to work with and find a mutually agreeable solution. We want to be understanding what those concerns are. We want to sort of really sort of find out where we can actually come and actually collaborate, and actually it's going to be really beneficial for both sides, and actually we're both happy with that outcome. And this one, it's a good rule of thumb to use this style when dealing with really important issues, because you're going to really sort of get to that side where, you know, you've both come with your the situation, whatever the conflict is, and you can actually say, okay, let's collaborate, let's get this resolved, because actually we're both coming from really good places, and we want to make sure that you know, this is a really good solution for whether it's business, personally. So yeah, collaborating styles are really good. Compromising style. Now, compromising can be a little bit, can be sort of confused with collaborating sometimes, because to compromise, you just really want to find that solution that's going to satisfy all parties. It's you can use this conflict resolution style for intermediate and important issues, when you need to just split the difference and just get on with it. And sometimes when you've got something that's really got to move on now, come on, let's just split the difference, let's just compromise. And it just means that you come to a really quick solution, and actually you can just get on with it. Now, the avoiding style. Avoidance style is really when people aren't paying attention and ignoring situations. The individual who actually selects this style of conflict doesn't really want to resolve the issue at all. They're just avoiding it. They're avoiding having that conversation. They just want to withdraw from the situation. It just really feels they can't discuss it. And that's when really that having that difficult conversation that comes into play, where really you're sitting down with that person, because they're avoiding really sort of addressing the issue, and actually having that and being really honest, and again, not personalizing it to them, but actually just, you know, the behavior that they're displaying isn't actually going to resolve anything, and actually we need to come together. So that one is it sort of can be used in situations where you need to withdraw from a threatening situation, and diplomatically sidestep an issue, or when you need to postpone an issue until a later time. So you can use it, but I would always try and sort of marry up the avoidance style up with, let's have that difficult conversation and let's start you know, getting through this and resolve the issue. So an accommodating style is best suited for unimportant really problems, because it creates a quick decision and it won't strain your relationship. So that's a really quick win to have. And a lot of business owners do this. Just quickly, yeah, okay, then let's just accommodate it. We'll resolve it later on, but that issue is still going to be there. So that's where we want to sort of really tackle that. So some of the key questions, really, I would be taking a sort of a rational approach, really, when that sort of conflict is there. And so when deciding how to tackle a conflict, there are some key questions which we ask ourselves and deciding the best course of action. So some of the questions, you know, I mean, is this a serious matter or is it relatively trivial? Could it become serious? I mean, could it? I mean, that's what you've got to ask yourself, could it? So if you believe it would, then yes, we've got to really look at what is happening underneath all of that, because there's something else that's a concern. So you really, in most cases, you would either get somebody, if you've got HR team or if you've got an outsourced HR team, then you get them involved. I carry out quite a bit of mediation, and that happens, you know, on some of these questions, oh, we've already started thinking about it, and we're sitting down with those, whether it's a client and with the employee, and we're looking at, you know, really resolving it before it gets to a big issue, whether they've put in a grievance or whether, you know, they've actually then walking away and then we've got some kind of claim on our hands. So we're looking at those issues rather than it blowing up. We're asking the questions constantly to say what's going on. So we want to prepare, we want to find out actually what's behind all of this conflict, because it could be something quite simple, could be something that actually we've missed. So it's just really finding out those questions. So I've just put some techniques and best practices together, and some of the things here, which is just really to give you a bit of an idea of just really keeping on top of, if you start using these techniques, everything becomes a little bit better. You can actually address situations in a more proactive way, and actually it just really sort of it helps you in your style as well, of how you're asking those questions and how you're identifying various different things in the workplace. Okay, so when we're looking at the techniques and best practices, I would always say understand what the conflict is. So understand the conflict, understand and fully position, and understand the position and the interests of the conflict for yourself and the other party. So think about what your concerns are and what you would like to see happen. So think about possible agreements you could reach, and explore alternatives. So that communication on both sides is really sort of exploring that, get those agreements in place, explore the alternatives, and think about at what point you will walk away from the conflict and what will you do if you can't reach an agreement. So really think about those things, what will happen, and really communicate on both sides. So projecting, if throughout all of this, if you're projecting calmness and with your body language, as well as how you're talking, that's going to really help the situation, because, you know, we've all probably had, you know, experience where, you know, you've come up against something and that other person's is quite het up and being quite aggressive, and you're then starting to get a bit anxious and het up and thinking, oh my God, how do I deal with this? And it's just really sort of calming your breathing, really stepping back and actually taking yourself out of, and just putting yourself in their shoes and what actually is happening here. So understanding it, exploring those alternatives, and that communication is so key, really key. Once we've identified a common goal, so once everyone has moved past the root of the cause, so we've found it, or we think we know what it is, they often discover that they're working towards really the same goal. So they just have different opinions. All right, 2 minutes, okay. So discuss what you need to do and then put an agreement in place. I just wanted to quickly, because I think this is really important. So this is a scenario about Sarah and Mike. They work in cloud-based services firm, and Sarah is part of the development team, and she writes the code for the cloud applications. Now, Mike's work is dependent on Sarah because he tests the application. Now, read through that as you will, quickly. So I will then sort of go through, really, I'm just saying, how would you handle this if you were Mike? Because he's getting quite frustrated. I would be sitting down with Sarah and I would be telling her that you've noticed that she's not confident in making decisions 7 months in, and you're wondering what it is that's preventing her from making those decisions. Let her respond and tell you why. Then I would be sort of really asking her that, I'll be sort of really reiterating to her that around here we're very happy to people to make their own decisions. What do you suggest we need to do to make you feel comfortable about making those decisions? You might want to extend the conversation, ask her to tell you more, what worries her about making decisions, what will happen if it does, summarize it, and if we do X, Y, and Z, what do you think will be the likelihood? And so then it builds her confidence. So actually addressing the situation is going to help that situation. But if we left it, that could be a really sort of that could blow. So always remain calm, and if in doubt, speak to HR. And we offer lots of bite-sized training for your teams. So Face2Face HR Cambridgeshire, contact us, and thank you for listening. Any questions? Whistle top.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. Unfortunately, we haven't got time for questions now. We've run over a little bit. However, what I would say is, I stress people have a one-to-one with Lorraine, and then you can actually ask your questions there. Great presentation.